is a candidate for TOLAC? What if the patient is having prior to cesarean? Is twin pregnancy a contraindication? What are the absolute contraindications you like to induce this patient? Hi and welcome to the channel Love Obstetrics and Gynecology. Today we are going to tackle a very common or classic Viva topic, that is TOLAC or VBAC. So let's get familiarized first with these terms. TOLAC is defined as trial of labor after cesarean. That means we are planning to give the trial to a lady who has had a prior cesarean section for a vaginal delivery. And VBAC, vaginal birth after cesarean. That means it basically is a successful outcome of that TOLAC which was given, and now we can call it as vaginal birth after cesarean. Now let's quickly go through some Viva questions which your examiner may ask, and you need to provide a clear structured answer based on some guideline. And here I'll be talking about the ACOG and the RCOG guidelines in your answers. So the very first question, who is a candidate for TOLAC? And your answer now must be very systematic, that is, my ideal candidate for a TOLAC will be the one with prior one lower segment cesarean scar pregnancy with currently having a singleton pregnancy in a longitudinal line, cephalic presentation at a gestation of more than or equal to 37 weeks of gestation with no contraindication to the vaginal birth. After you have given the description for your ideal candidate for TOLAC, a few more questions will be expected from the examiner side. The first one will be, what if the patient is having prior to cesarean? Will you give a trial of labor in this patient? Well, your answer should include that this patient requires an assessment by a senior obstetrician, and also you need to evaluate her points in the history, especially in the obstetric history, if there has been a prior vaginal delivery, and after the proper counseling of that patient regarding the risks involved and the benefits, the patient can undergo a trial of labor even if she is having prior to lower segment cesarean sections. Another very common question is, what if the scar is not known? That is, you do not actually know whether it was a lower segment scar or an upper segment scar or a scar of any other operative intervention such as myomectomy. Now obviously in this unknown scar, you need to evaluate the history in such a way that you get to know whether there was what kind of scar could have been. Actually, how can you predict it? You can predict it in a way that you take the obstetric history, and in that obstetric history, if there is a history of prior preterm cesarean section. Now word preterm is very important because in preterm patients, the lower uterine segment is not well formed, and there are higher chances, whether you give a transverse incision or a vertical incision on the uterus, it will be more of like a classical cesarean scar. So ruling first that out, and second is if there has been other operative intervention such as of a myomectomy. That myomectomy, especially of a huge myoma, or somewhere the incision was somehow involving the transfundal area with opening of the uterine cavity, the endometrium, that patient will also be not suitable for TOLAC. So if somehow you can rule out these things, the patient again would need a counseling by a senior obstetrician, and then you can further proceed with the TOLAC. Another very interesting question is, how about to proceed with the twin pregnancy? Is twin pregnancy a contraindication for TOLAC? Well, if a twin otherwise could undergo a vaginal delivery, that is, we have twins and we can plan as such a vaginal delivery, the only thing that is bothering us is that prior lower uterine segment scar, then that is not a contraindication. the patient can undergo a vaginal delivery. For example, if you have TCDA twins and first one is Catholic, there is no cephalopelvic disproportion, there is no other contraindication for vaginal delivery such as for example placenta previa, only with one prior lower segment cesarean section, this patient can undergo a vaginal delivery. Another very controversial question that could be asked is, if you have a prior cesarean section patient with a history of prior cesarean section presenting currently to you at 37 weeks of gestation with a breech or a transverse line, how would you like to proceed with this patient? Now, basically, there is a point in the ACOG guidelines that external Catholic version is not a contraindication in the patients with a lower uterine segment scar. So, that can be performed and further the patient can undergo TOLAC. Now, the point here arises is, are you an expert to do that ECV? And currently, in the new pattern of learning, the young obstetrics and obstetricians are actually not very well trained to perform ECV. So here, if such procedure has to be performed and a delivery is being planned, you need a call from the senior obstetrician that can perform this maneuver and further the delivery can be supervised. So the next question, what are the absolute contraindications for the TOLAC? Well, a prior history of classical cesarean scar, a history of T-shaped scar or a J-shaped scar where the chances of uterine rupture are high, or a prior history of TOLAC in which there was a history of uterine rupture. These are absolute contraindications along with the other contraindications which are otherwise also a contraindication for vaginal delivery such as placenta previa or a big fibroid is obstructing your lower uterine segment. Those are otherwise also a contraindication for the vaginal delivery. So include both of these. Plus, if you are planning for this TOLAC, this should be done only in a setting where there is a provision for immediate cesarean delivery whenever that may be required during the process of delivery. The most important aspect of this TOLAC is counseling the patient. The patient needs to properly know what is your TOLAC and what is elective repeat cesarean section. The TOLAC, the successful outcome should be told that it has a successful outcome of about 70 to 75%. And if she has a prior history of vaginal delivery, this successful outcome can increase up to 85 to 90% even. And also she needs to be aware of the risks involved. The major risk that we are involved will be the uterine rupture, and the percentage of that is 0.5%. That is 1 in 200 deliveries a uterine rupture can occur. What about the risks to the fetus or the perinatal mortality? That is comparable to the nulliparous patient. That is, she is at no higher risk to any other woman undergoing labor. That is 0.04%. And now, what about the elective repeat cesarean section? Well, yes, the elective repeat cesarean section obviously eliminates the risk for your uterine rupture, but it can be a risk factor for your next pregnancy. Risk factor in terms of increased chances of placenta previa, placenta agreta, more of adhesion formation. So all of that should be explained to the patient during her counseling session. Now coming on to the elephant in the room. Would you like to induce this patient? Well, the patient may require induction in few cases, like if she is a hypertensive woman and she is of a prior cesarean scar, she's at 37 weeks, you will need to induce that patient. So would you like to induce this patient? Well, yes, induction of labor can be performed. Basically, the risk factor is the uterine rupture. The chances of uterine rupture increase in the case that has been induced. So For a normal spontaneous onset labor, the risk of uterine rupture is 0.5%. Now, if you induced, this rupture risk will definitely increase. So, which will be an ideal method, or which is a method that should be preferred in cases of lower uterine segment scar, so that there are less chances of rupture. So you prefer the mechanical methods over your drugs. So mechanical method includes induction with the Foley's catheter. So if you induce it with the Foley's, the risk is 0.77%. And in case you induce it with the oxytocin, the risk is approximately 1.4%. And if your prostaglandins can be used, the dinoproston gel, that can have the uterine rupture risk of 2.2%. And by the way, the misoprostol is contraindicated for induction in these cases. So now if a patient comes to you with a prior cesarean section in spontaneous onset of labor beyond 37 weeks of gestation, and she has no other contraindication for vaginal delivery, how would you like to proceed? Well, first thing is that you will get this patient admitted, because a TOLAC has to be done in a facility which has immediate access for cesarean delivery. So this thing should be tackled at such center. If yours is such a center, admit her. Second, you need to have an IV access for this patient, because the patient has somehow chances for the uterine rupture and you need to be prepared. So have an IV access. Allow her clear liquids till she is just going in for her second stage of labor. Till that, she could be allowed clear liquids. She should be encouraged mobility. She should have a watch on her fetal movements. Then what about the continuous CTG or continuous electron fetal monitoring? Well, that could be done when she is having a regular uterine contractions and not just the occasional contractions. Then also prepare her mentally that yes, we are planning your TOLAC, but anytime you can be taken up for a cesarean. So that mental preparation is also very important. And also have her blood arranged. Need to have a proper labor analgesia, that is, you need to give her relief from the pain. You can provide the patient with epidural analgesia. Epidural analgesia is not a contraindication. So the only thing that you need to be very aware is, if the patient keeps on insisting to increase the dose of analgesia, that may be pointing towards the scar rupture. So have a continuous monitoring of her maternal vitals also, especially tachycardia or hypotension, because those are the signs for the uterine rupture. Now a very common question, what if the uterine rupture occurs? How will you identify that? Basically, the patient will give a history that she had a very sudden acute pain in the area of the lower uterine segment or just in the suprapubic region of the patient, and now there is a constant pain over that area. It is not relieved during the contractions. Plus there will be a history of vaginal bleeding, or there can be a history of hematuria. And then you will examine this patient. Okay, examining this patient means maternal pulse, tachycardia, the BP might be dropping, so she might be hypotensive. Now coming on to her per abdomen examination, the uterine contour will be lost, the uterine contractions you will not be able to appreciate that. And fetal heart, if that was the patient was already on continuous CTG monitoring, then you might be able to detect the acute bradycardia, or in case that was not being done, you might be having a very difficulty in localizing that fetal heart, or the fetal heart may get even absent. On the per vaginum examination, there will be obvious you can feel for the bleeding, you might be able to see for the bleeding, and the fetal station that gets lost. That means if the fetus has been at 0 or +1, that fetus gets pushed up back into the abdomen, so you might not be able to appreciate that fetal station. In this manner, you are providing a structured answer. That is, you have noted all the points on the history. Then you proceeded with the maternal examination, the general physical examination, important points, and then coming on to the per abdomen, and finally your per vaginum findings. Now, if the patient opts for the elective repeat cesarean section, what can be done or what questions can be asked? See, in this, obviously you are eliminating a factor, that is the uterine rupture risk, but there are other risk factors. That is, now you have to plan a delivery if she does not have any other medical indication, that is after 39 weeks of pregnancy. Then in case she has other indication for a early delivery, supposingly you are conducting a delivery at 37 weeks, do we need to give antenatal corticosteroids? Now this, as such, if we talk about the RCOG guideline, they say that till 39 weeks of delivery you can give the patient antenatal corticosteroid for the fetal lung maturity. But the long term data beyond 36 weeks is currently not available to know the effects. The effects, basically, there may be some developmental delays, milestone delays in the babies that are born who had received antenatally the corticosteroid. So those long-term studies are currently undergoing, but still the data beyond 36 weeks is not available. ACOG do recommend that you give it till the 34 weeks of gestation, that is very much fine, or RCOG tells that you can give it till 39 weeks, but the study of more than 36 weeks is still lacking, so we do not know exactly what can be the side effects of it. We know the benefits of it, but we do not know the side effects yet. So for this VBAC, is there any score available that we can calculate the score and then predict that yes, this person is having these many chances of VBAC? There is a score available. There are many scores available, but I'll tell you one score that is available online. Maternal Fetal Medicine Units, that's the website on which you can find this score, and it gives you both antenatally and at the time of delivery. The scores are different. It basically calculates the maternal age, the obstetric history, then the other medical risk factors, the weight, BMI of the patient, and the current per vaginum examination findings of the station, cervical dilatation, effacement, and then it collectively provides you the success rate particularly for that patient. So you can include that score also during the counseling session of the patient. So summarizing all the points: first, choose the candidate wisely. Second, counsel her properly, tell her the VBAC and ERCS, all the risks and benefits. Then finally, it should be better a senior led decision, because a senior obstetrician has seen more cases and is more experienced to handle such cases. Then the onset of labor, the best is spontaneous, but in case you need to induce it with the mechanical methods, best is that. Then during the intrapartum, always have an extensive monitoring done and always keep a check on the uterine rupture signs. So thanks for watching the video. If you like the video, please do like, subscribe and share the channel. Love Obstetrics and Gynecology. Thanks for watching.